This is where we left last time. We were doing question number 8. We have done the first part. We have to do second part. In second part, we have the values indicated against the diagonals. And since it's a parallelogram, we will use the property of the diagonals of a parallelogram. And what we know is that for a parallelogram, the diagonals bisect each other. So for the diagonal Rn, the two parts that you can see, one part is indicated as 16, the other one is indicated as x plus y. They will be equal. And similarly, for the second diagonal Su, the two parts indicated are 20 and y plus 7. These two parts will be equal. So this is the property we are going to use. Just for convenience, I'm going to mark this point here as O, the point of intersection of the diagonals. Let's draw the diagram and start. So we're going to write down the property first of all, the property that I'll be using to solve this question. Diagonals of parallelogram bisect each other. This would mean that the parts will be equal for both the diagonals. RO will be equal to ON and SO will be equal to OU. So using the values, SO is 20, OU is y plus 7. Solving this, y comes out to be 13. And using now the values for RO and ON, we have 16 equals to x plus y. Now in this part, the second one, we have x and y both missing, but I have just calculated the value of y. I will be using that over here. So 16 will be equal to x plus 13. From here, you can find out the value of x. So these are the two values of the variables which were missing and representing lengths in centimeters. If you want, you can give your answer. Even with the previous case, you can mention centimeters along with the answers. Anyone with any questions in these two parts? Question number 9 is deleted.
Please wait.
Sure. The students who have done this, they can draw the figure for question number 10 from the next page.
One, ma'am.
So this question here is deleted, question 9th. Then question number 10th. Explain how this figure is a trapezium. Which of its two sides are parallel? Figure is 3.32. So this is the figure with question number 10th. You have a quadrilateral KLMN. You can see two of its angles are marked here, 80 degrees and 100 degrees. You have to explain how this figure is a trapezium. So trapezium is a quadrilateral in which one pair of opposite sides is parallel. This is what we will prove, and later they are also asking you to write down which two sides are parallel. So as you can see, based on whatever is given here, in your quadrilateral, two angles are indicated, and the position of these two angles tells me that these are the pair of co-interior angles. So those who have forgotten how to identify co-interior angles, let us say there are two lines and those are intersected by a transversal. So as for now, I can say NM and KL are the two lines, and this is my transversal, the slanting line. This is the transversal ML, and this is the pair of lines that I have. The angles formed here on the same side of the transversal, on same side of transversal, and if you look at their positions, these are interior angles. Lines के अंदर है, दोनों lines के अंदर हैं ये, तो ये interior angles हैं, the ones I have shown here, this one and this one. These are interior angles and they are on the same side of the transversal. ये वाले angles को हम short में बोलते हैं co-interior angles. And if the co-interior angles are supplementary, the lines will be parallel, and vice versa. अगर lines parallel होती तो इनका sum 180 बनता है, और अगर हम चेक कर रहे हैं कि lines parallel है या नहीं, हम sum check करेंगे. If the sum is 180, that would mean the two angles I have shown here are supplementary. Then I can say that the lines are parallel. Because right now मुझे lines के बारे में कुछ नहीं पता, सिर्फ angles पता हैं. तो मैं एंगल्स की प्रॉपर्टी चेक करूंगी. एंगल्स सप्लीमेंट्री होने चाहिए सो दैट द लाइंस विल बी पैरेलल. अगर एंगल्स सप्लीमेंट्री नहीं बनते तो लाइंस पैरेलल नहीं होंगी. द प्रॉपर्टी दैट वी विल चेक हियर फॉर द लाइंस टू बी पैरेलल इज co-interior angles should be supplementary. Accordingly, we will answer. Is the question clear?
Again, co-interior angles.
I hope the question is clear what we are doing here. हमें दिया नहीं है lines parallel है, हमें identify करना है. तो मैंने पहले क्या identify किया कि जो angles यहाँ पे indicate किए हुए हैं, which pair they are forming. They are forming a pair of co-interior angles. And if these are supplementary, which is clearly seen here, the sum is 180, these are supplementary. So if your co-interior angles are supplementary, then the lines are parallel. So the answer will be yes in this case. And then you have to write down which two sides will be parallel, the sides which contain the two angles. So the line on the top and the bottom one, these two sides will be parallel. Let's write the answer. Angle M and angle L are forming a pair of co-interior angles. And then you can indicate also. That's it. And you can write down the reason. Is anyone writing down?
Yes, ma'am, please wait.
Is it done?
Yes, ma'am.
I already have discussed with you various types of parallelograms. Your next exercise is based on that. In case you want to revise, please revise the various types of parallelograms and their properties. The examples before this exercise and the questions in the exercise are all based on whether or not you know about the three types of parallelograms and the properties thoroughly. First question is state whether true or false. So this one's actually just a true false question, but it requires a little discussion. So we will be doing this afterwards. And I'm going to do the second, third, fourth question with you first. So question number 2 is identify all the quadrilaterals that have first 4 sides of equal length. So there are 3 types of quadrilaterals and further 3 types of parallelograms. So in all, there are 6 names that you're familiar with. Out of those 6 names, parallelogram, trapezium, kite, square, rectangle, and rhombus. Identify the quadrilaterals which have 4 sides of equal length.
Square and rhombus.
Yes, one is a square, all 4 sides are equal, and the second one is rhombus, all 4 sides are equal. What about the quadrilaterals in which there are 4 right angles?
Square.
Okay.
Rectangle.
Rectangle.
Rectangle, square and rectangle. Then question number 3, you have to give a reason how a square is a quadrilateral. Quadrilateral is a polygon which is made up of 4 line segments. So is square a polygon made up of 4 line segments?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
That will be your reason. Square is a quadrilateral because it is made up of 4 line segments. Then the next one is square is a parallelogram. So parallelogram is quadrilateral in which opposite sides are parallel. In case of a square, opposite sides are parallel. Both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. Therefore, it's a parallelogram. Means you simply have to explain how a square can be called a quadrilateral. How can you say that a square is a parallelogram? How can you say that a square is a rhombus? Or how can you say a square is a rectangle? You will be looking at the definition of all of these and see if square satisfies that definition. अगर हम पैरेललोग्राम की बात करें तो पैरेललोग्राम का जो मीनिंग है वो ये है कि ऐसा क्वाड्रिलेटरल जिसमें ऑपोजिट साइड्स पैरेलल हों। तो क्या ये चीज स्क्वायर में होती है? अगर होती है, यस, इट इज अ पैरेललोग्राम. Now for a rhombus, what do you want? You want it to be a parallelogram. Rhombus की definition है. I would like you to just take you back there. Maybe that should help. Let us see if I have written here. Okay. So let's take a look at the meaning of rhombus. So rhombus over here, I've written a parallelogram in which all four sides are equal. Is that right? हमने ये लिखा है. Rhombus is a parallelogram with all sides equal. So now if we go back, was there a question? Okay. So parallelogram in which all four sides are equal will be a rhombus. And now going back to the question. हमें चेक करना है कि स्क्वायर को हम रोम्बस बोल सकते हैं या नहीं बोल सकते. तो स्क्वायर को जब रोम्बस बोलना है हमें ये चेक करना है whether in a square or is square a parallelogram in which all four sides are equal. So first part, is square a parallelogram? Yes. Are all four sides equal? Yes. So a parallelogram with all four sides equal will be a rhombus. So that's why square is a rhombus. Let me know if that makes sense to you. हम चेक कर रहे हैं कि स्क्वायर को हम rhombus कैसे बोल सकते हैं. Other than this, like square is a parallelogram जिसकी सारी sides बराबर होती हैं. इतनी ही प्रॉपर्टी से ये rhombus बन जाएगा. लेकिन square actually is a special case of rhombus in wherein each angle is 90 degree. हमारे पास एक ऐसा rhombus बन जाए जिसमें हर एंगल 90 डिग्री हो, तो वो कौन सी शेप अटेन कर लेगा? वो स्क्वायर बन जाएगा. So square is actually a special case of rhombus. Then finally you have to check whether square is a rectangle. So rectangle is a parallelogram in which each angle is 90 degree. So is square a parallelogram in which each angle is 90 degrees? Just answer yes or no. Is square a parallelogram?
Yes.
Is its each angle 90 degree? Yes. So that's why it's a rectangle. So these questions are all based on your understanding of the properties of the various types of parallelograms and the quadrilaterals. Unless you're clear about each and every point that I have written here or discussed while explaining the types, you will not be able to answer. So if you want, you can watch that video again, or if you have any questions, you can let me know on WhatsApp and I will try to help you out with that. Because it's important how we write down the answer. You understand it or not will depend on your understanding of properties. If the properties make sense to you, the answer will make sense to you. Second question and fourth question are just like one word type answers. Fourth question again, we will be writing this. We will be writing this in the notebook in a while. Name the quadrilaterals whose diagonals bisect each other. So you can look at the list of all the quadrilaterals and see किस में ये लिखा था कि diagonals bisect each other. Both diagonals bisect each other. Plural है. दोनों diagonals की bisection होनी चाहिए. And you have to identify those quadrilaterals. So diagonals bisect in parallelogram. You can write down the answer as parallelogram. Further, there are three types of parallelograms. You cover rectangle, rhombus, and square. All three parallelograms. In each of these, the diagonals bisect each other. Then second part, diagonals are perpendicular bisectors. 90 degree angle बनता है जब diagonals intersect करती हैं.
मैम rhombus.
Rhombus.
Square.
Yes.
Square.
Rhombus and square. And then finally the quadrilaterals in which diagonals are equal. You could go back to the table where you have written all the properties and just see from
Rectangle.
there. Rectangle.
Square and rectangle.
Square and rectangle, that's correct. So these are the two answers for this. Now coming back to question number 1, you have to identify true or false. Okay, there is a simple concept. Think of the properties that we want to check for each of these parts. All rectangles are squares. जितने भी rectangles बनते हैं सारे के सारे squares बनते हैं. So whether or not this statement is true, we would like to check the properties of a square if those are satisfied by all the rectangles that are possible. सारे rectangles जितने भी बन सकते हैं, क्या वो squares की properties satisfy करते हैं? अगर rectangles square की properties satisfy करेंगे, then you will that the rectangles are squares, else you will say no. So the first part is okay. By definition, a square is a parallelogram in which all four sides are equal and each angle is 90 degrees. So does that happen in rectangles?
No.
It's false, right? It's false. Second part, all rhombuses are parallelograms. So rhombuses are parallelograms. This is correct by definition because rhombus is a type of parallelogram. So this one's true without even checking the properties. हमें rhombus की जब meaning लिखते हैं rhombus का, तभी हम ये लिखते हैं that rhombus is a parallelogram. So all the rhombuses are parallelograms, special parallelograms in which all four sides are equal. Then C part, all squares are rhombuses and also rectangles.
True.
True. This is true because the squares have the properties of rhombuses and they also have the properties of the rectangles. So squares is a combination of rhombus and rectangle. Then all squares are not parallelograms.
False.
False.
All kites are rhombuses. Rhombus बनने के लिए सारी sides equal होनी चाहिए. Kite में सारी sides equal होती हैं?
No. False.
False.
Rhombuses are kites. To be a kite, you want adjacent sides to be equal. Two distinct pairs of adjacent sides equal. Does that happen in a rhombus? Now this one's a little tricky here. Kite बनने के लिए, what we want two distinct pairs of equal sides. So in case of a rhombus, let us say ABCD is a rhombus. So I can write down all four sides are equal in a rhombus and it's a parallelogram. So I could put the sides in pairs of adjacent sides. So I could take AD and CD as one pair and BA and BC as the second pair. So these two pairs are the pairs of adjacent sides. Is that correct? Both these pairs are pairs of adjacent sides. Is that correct?
Yes.
And secondly, these pairs are distinct. Distinct means they are different from each other. Common नहीं है कोई side. जो पहला pair है उसमें अलग नाम है और जो second pair है उसमें different names हैं. So these two pairs are distinct pairs. This is second thing. And as such, जो पहला pair है ADCD का ये आपस में equal हैं और जो दूसरा pair है BABC का वो आपस में equal हैं. तो मेरे पास यहाँ पे दो pairs बन रहे हैं जो आपस में match नहीं करते. They are distinct. These pairs are the pairs of adjacent sides और इन pairs की lengths equal हैं. तो पहले पेयर में जो साइड्स हैं वो आपस में इक्वल हैं, जो सेकंड पेयर में साइड्स हैं वो आपस में इक्वल हैं. बाय डेफिनेशन ये काइट बन जाती है. लेकिन एडिशनली देयर इज वन मोर स्पेशल थिंग इन दिस केस दैट ऑल फोर साइड्स आर इक्वल. तो हम एडिशनल प्रॉपर्टीज डिस्कस नहीं कर रहे. We are only focusing on the definition. By definition, we require that there should be two distinct pairs of adjacent sides and those pairs should contain the sides with equal length. So this makes your rhombus a kite. So that's why this statement will be true. Then G part, all parallelograms are trapeziums. Again, trapezium बनने के लिए क्या चाहिए? One pair of opposite sides should be parallel. Do parallelograms satisfy that condition? क्या पैरेललोग्राम्स में आपको एक पेयर मिल जाएगा ऑपोजिट साइड्स का जो पैरेलल होगा?
मम्मा ठीक है। हाँ? ऐसे कैसे ठीक हो गया? नायरा जरूर डेंटिस्ट से।
Just try to answer this. Somebody had their TV on in the background. Okay, so all parallelograms are trapeziums. Is that true or false?
True.
That's true. It's true. To be a trapezium, we require one pair of opposite sides to be parallel. और parallelograms जितने भी बनेंगे हर एक में हमें मिल जाएगा one pair of opposite sides parallel. वैसे तो दूसरा भी पैरेलल होगा, लेकिन ट्रेपीजियम बनने के लिए सिर्फ एक चाहिए, तो वो मिल रहा है या नहीं मिल रहा? मिल रहा है, इसलिए पैरेललोग्राम को हम ट्रेपीजियम बोल सकते हैं. Then all squares are trapezium. If all parallelograms are trapeziums, then definitely जितने भी पैरेललोग्राम्स बनते हैं, पैरेललोग्राम्स कौन कौन से होते हैं? रोम्बस, रेक्टेंगल, स्क्वायर्स, वो सभी के सभी क्या बन जाएंगे? ट्रेपीजियम बन जाएंगे. So from G part you can conclude H part the statement is true. I would like you to revise these properties once again and go over all of these questions today. And if you have any doubts, please let me know. We will be writing the answers. If you want, you can leave the answers in the textbook for question number 1, 2, and 4. Question number 3 has to be done in the notebook. So I'm going to write all these answers in the notebook along with you. But do revise. Do revise unless, otherwise they won't make sense to you. So question number 1, if you want, you can just answer these in the book. So we have B, C, and the last 3 true. The others are false. Then question number 2, part A, you have to answer the names of the quadrilaterals in which the four sides are equal. And then
राधा कृष्ण जब
right angles.
साक्षात लक्ष्मी माँ को धन की जरूरत पड़ी.
Explain how a square is a quadrilateral. Therefore, it's a quadrilateral. It's like writing the definition for quadrilateral. Second one, how a square is a parallelogram. So parallelogram has both pairs of opposite sides parallel. So both pairs of opposite sides are parallel in a square. Therefore, it is a parallelogram. Then how do you call a square a rhombus? A rhombus is a parallelogram in which all four sides are equal. This is what we will be writing for the square. A square is a parallelogram with all four sides equal. This implies it is a rhombus. This part here, parallelogram with all four sides equal, this means it's a rhombus. Both pair of opposite sides are parallel. This is parallelogram. Polygon made up of 4 line segments is a quadrilateral. Then D part, a square is a rectangle. So a square is a parallelogram. I'm going to write down the definition for rectangle. A parallelogram with each angle 90 degrees. So does that happen in a square? Yes. This means square is a rectangle. Question number 4. Quadrilaterals whose diagonals bisect each other. You will be covering all parallelograms. So you have the 3 parallelograms as such, all rectangles, all rhombuses, and all squares. The diagonals bisect each other. The diagonals are perpendicular bisectors. That only happens in rhombus and squares. And then the diagonals are equal. That happens in a square and rectangle. These are all questions which can be asked for 1 mark or MCQs or blanks, like objective type and multiple choice questions, where there is a possibility of answers where you could confuse the answers with each other. So just understand and do this. And please mention question number 5th and 6th are deleted. Once again, like if anyone has questions right now, you can just ask. Okay. The next chapter, yes. Okay. The next chapter that you have is practical geometry, its construction. We will be doing only examples if you have taken a look at the syllabus. So as such, हम पूरी exercise नहीं करेंगे, हम सिर्फ examples करेंगे, and I will be sharing videos for these. You can watch the video and try doing the construction on your own. And in case you have any problem, we will take that up in the class. All right?
Okay, ma'am.
I would like you to revise the construction of angles, because for that chapter, आपको angles use करनी है. For the angles which can be constructed with the help of pair of compasses and the angles which will be constructed using a protractor. So आपको जो question आएगा उसमें आपको देखना है कि angle किससे बनाना है, whether it's to be constructed with a pair of compasses or you can directly draw it with protractor. And I think you're all aware that the angles which are multiples of 15, they can be constructed with the pair of compasses. तो अगर आपके पास क्वेश्चन में ऐसा एंगल है जिसका मेजर 15 का मल्टीपल है, 15 के टेबल में आती है वैल्यू, तो हम वो कंपासेस से बनाएंगे, चाहे लिखा है चाहे नहीं लिखा, हमने वो एंगल कंपासेस से बनाना है. अगर एंगल का मेजर 15 का मल्टीपल नहीं है, then we will directly draw it with protractor. So this is something you want to revise before you actually start with the questions. जब आप questions begin करोगे उससे पहले एक बार सारे angles की construction revise कर लेना. 30 degrees, 60 degrees, 90 degrees, 120, 75 and 105, very important. 75 and 105 are a little tricky, so do that also. And if you want, you can do others also, 135, 150 and all. So that's what I would like you to revise before you start watching the videos which I share. So as for now, this completes your chapter. Do revise the properties. You can do that day to tomorrow, take up this Sunday, and whatever your doubts are, you can just send me on WhatsApp. All right? Okay, I'll see you all tomorrow.